if you look at that, China, first row, China, 67%. That's tariffs charged to the USA, including currency manipulation and trade barriers. So 67%, I think you can, for the most part, see it. Those with good eyes, with bad eyes. We didn't want to bring, it's very windy out here. We didn't want to bring out the big charts because it had no chance of standing. Fortunately, we came armed with a little smaller chart. So it's 67%, so we're going to be charging a discounted reciprocal tariff of 34%. I think, in other words, they charge us, we charge them less. So how can anybody be upset? They will be, because we never charge anybody anything. But now we're going to charge. European Union, they're very tough, very, very tough traders. You think of European Union, very friendly. They rip us off. It's so sad to see. It's so pathetic. 39%, we're going to charge them 20%, so we're charging them essentially half. Vietnam, great negotiators, great people. They like me, I like them. The problem is they charge us 90%. We're going to charge them 46% tariff. Taiwan, where they took all of our computer chips and semiconductors. We used to be the king, right? We were everything. We had all of it. Now we have almost none of it, except the biggest company is coming in. We're going to end up with almost 40%. Lee Zeldin's working to get their approvals. And it's an amazing company. Mr. Wei, of one of the great companies of the world, actually. They're coming in from Taiwan, and they're going to build one of the biggest plants in the world, maybe the biggest for that.
Be leaders ourselves.
Black women are being used by the Democrat Party.
All of these socioeconomic indicators are in the negative, particularly for black people.
They want mob rule. When Trump was in office, please somebody tell me, what act of dictatorship did he perform?
She had Donald Trump's hair on top of her head. And she's sitting here talking about brown girl this, brown girl that.
Because she's a black woman.
They would ask her how to spell her first name and clap like sea monkeys.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa. It is a pet.
All right. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday, and it's time for Pop and Politics. I'm KJ. Let me introduce you to my co-hosts. Of course, we have Nicole Bennett and Shelly E.
Hi, everybody.
All right. Before we dive in, do me a favor, tap that thumbs up and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed so already, what are you waiting for? We're on YouTube and Rumble. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. We love our super chats. We shout out all of our super chats. It's the best way to get your voice heard and to show your love for conservative content. Folks, this is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that value freedom. Stand with us and subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, ladies, let's set it off. As you can see here, in a celebration of Liberation Day, we have our Trump wine tonight, courtesy of Nicole. So we're going to get into all of the liberation stuff and the tariffs, but you can see here, this is the Trump wine. So we're going to, you ready? We might as well kick it off.
I need a glass.
Let's make it.
Okay. So we are taking, and I've had a little bit of Trump wine before, but I haven't had, I don't know if I've had this one.
This one is the rosé.
Oh,
straight from the Trump winery in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Nice. Oh, thank you, Nicole.
Strong like Trump.
Oh, okay.
Wait, does it taste like tax savings? Because that's what I'm looking for. I want it to taste like the abolishment of the IRS.
Yes.
Well, give me the whole bottle.
And I'll toast to that.
Listen here. I'll toast to that too.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Right.
Take that IRS down.
Exactly.
Yes. Cheers.
I wish you guys were here. I would have brought enough for everybody, right?
Oh, it's very good. Very good. All right.
Ooh.
So, yes, cheers.
See right here, right?
it's really good. Very good.
It is funny. It was light.
Smooth.
It's a little lighter
yeah.
than I thought it would be.
I don't like rosé. I'm a red wine kind
I'm
of
a
girl.
red wine. That's
Oh.
why it's not as strong as white. So
But it was a gracious trip. We had a great time in Charlottesville. Love going to Trump Winery. So I'm going to say all nice things. So I'll keep getting invited back.
Yes, indeed. All right, folks. So as we said, we are toasting today because of Liberation Day, as President Trump coined it. So as you guys saw at the top of the show, earlier today, President Trump unveiled his Liberation Day Make America Wealthy Again plan for implementing reciprocal tariffs on imports to rectify what he views as a decades-long trade imbalance between the United States and other countries. So again, at the event titled Make America Wealthy Again, in the White House Rose Garden, Trump declared that some foreign nations will be charged roughly half of what they impose with tariffs, again, including China, India, and the European Union. Before we all sound off on this, I want you guys to take a look at this next clip. He had an audience full of auto workers there as well. And this was, I thought, one of my favorite parts of the press conference. This is clip 5.
Thank you. It's a great honor to have you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. President. I grew up just north of Detroit, Michigan, in Macomb County, known as the home of the Reagan Democrats. My first vote for president was for Ronald Reagan. I thought that was going to be the best president I ever saw in my lifetime until Donald J. Trump came along. I have watched my entire life, I have watched plant after plant after plant in Detroit and in the metro Detroit area close. There are now plants sitting idle. There are now plants that are underutilized. And Donald Trump's policies are going to bring product back into those underutilized plants. There's going to be new investment. There's going to be new plants built. And the UAW members, and I brought 20 of them with me, they're sitting right over here. We support Donald Trump's policies on tariffs 100%. So, Mr. President, we can't thank you enough. And in 6 months or a year, we're going to begin to see the benefits. I can't wait to see what's happening 3 or 4 years down the road. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, fellas. Yeah, that's it.
So before we get into the tariff stuff, Shelley, I don't recall another president, at least in my lifetime, that has had so many regular, everyday Americans at the podium of the White House.
Yeah. It doesn't surprise me with Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a man of the people, to put it, simply. He knows how to speak to people. Remember, even though he's a billionaire, he inherited some of his father's money, things like that, fine. But he actually he was there on the ground to build his properties. He's a New Yorker. I love New Yorkers, right? They know how to speak people. They're people. So it's no surprise. Donald Trump knows the heart and soul of America, which ultimately are the American people. Donald Trump, he doesn't consider himself above. Right. Or, he doesn't consider himself higher than the American people. No, yes, he's the leader, the official leader, if you will, but he considers himself knowing the working man, the common man, if you want to call him that. But Donald Trump ultimately knows Americans because at his heart, at his soul, he is American. That's it.
Agreed.
Yeah. And Nicole, we see how media tries when they talk about President Trump, they say, oh, this billionaire businessman, he can't relate to everyday Americans. Sure. But then we see total opposite, don't we?
Of course. So, there are only maybe 2 circles I can think of where being a billionaire is a bad thing. That would be at the Democrat Party and, of course, maybe a socialist party of some sort. But the rest of us, bring on the money, right? Bring on the money. He's a successful man. And he's wealthy and he acts like a successful, wealthy man. He's incredibly charming. For people who've had a chance to meet him, they come away going, one, he's much bigger than I thought he was stature-wise. He's tall, he's filled out, and he's incredibly charming. He's got that rich boy charm. You know, to kind of put his hand on the small of your back and whisper stuff in your ear, that kind of charm. But he really is all American. When you think about what an American man is supposed to be, he has almost all of those traits. He's strong, he's loyal, he's industrious. What else do you need?
Yeah. And he is fighting for us, folks. Now, I got to be honest with you. I have not been too crazy about these tariffs, but I have been researching it, and more economists are coming out and saying this is actually going to be a good thing for us in the long run. So already we are seeing other countries, concede and lower their tariffs. Israel eliminated tariffs on U.S. imports ahead of today's announcement. Also, there were some other ones here. Of course, removing all tariffs on Vietnam and let me see. Over the past couple of months, Trump moved to implement other tariffs against China as well as Canada and Mexico. And then midnight tonight, we're going to see them all kick in. So, there have been other countries that have, again, went ahead and lowered the tariffs before these other ones kick in tonight. But I mean, there are economists saying that, the markets, because they don't know what to expect, are going to be a little chaotic over the next couple of days or weeks.
Change always does that, right? But the beautiful thing about it is, again, this is a Band-Aid moment for America. This is not something that's going to impact us long-term negatively. There'll be a little pain in the beginning, like when you rip a Band-Aid off, there's a little bit of burn, but it's for the healing of the nation. And we need to level the playing field. For too long, we've been upside down with these nations. That's why it's easy for them to fold. They've already made their money.
Well, they've made their money true to a degree, but look, the ultimate or the initial, the mindset of these many other countries is that the U.S. is supposed to just take it, so to speak, right? We look, they need us more than we need them in many ways, I'll say. It's not, and again, these are called reciprocal, meaning give a little, take a little, win-win, if you will. It's not 90-10, or it's not all for me and none for thee. No, that's not what it is. Why should the USA pay all of these other tariffs or fees or whatever on other goods that we import, and we basically charge zero? Well, you know what? It's called a free market, number one. It's called pay your keep. And if you want our business, or if you want your business to be imported into our country, then if you're going to charge us, we're going to charge you. Why is that? I don't understand why that's so wrong. And why is it assumed that we need to keep it the way it's always been?
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because we have become a nation of consumers. Of consumers of imported goods.
And that's so we don't build anything anymore.
So that's why
was shipped overseas.
Exactly. So in a way, this is a good thing because it helps for us to start building manufacturing here in the United States. Also, it's a safety issue. Having our medication made in China and these other countries is not a good thing. Our aluminum, all of these goods that we really need to have, done here. It's a good thing for us to start putting it into effect here. And what happens is, if we start if we can meet the need, so if manufacturing gets in gear and kicks up, and is able to meet the need of the products, then it'll actually be a good thing for the U.S.
It'll be a great thing.
Yeah, it'll be a great thing. Right.
And take a look at what Trump did in his first term with the steel industry. People said, oh, steel is over. They should, quote unquote, learn to code. I don't know why they were so excited about people coding, right? But what he did is he leveled the playing field for the steel industry, and it created a ton of jobs. It drove revenue. It breathed life into that industry. And this is why the automakers are so very excited for this, because it's going to do this very same thing for them.
I think I thought about this earlier. I think also, what did you call it? Unintended consequence. for the psyche of not just the world, but America's. Again, it gives us a little idea of how it's okay to negotiate.
Absolutely.
It's okay to compete fairly, if you will. I think that does something down to the quote unquote, the street sweeper.
Mhm.
You know, it's okay to compete. It's okay to negotiate. You know, maybe you can negotiate whatever, you know, with your boss or your whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
I think as a nation, we have become so, you know, placid. Like you said, we're consumers, but we've gotten so used to just consuming, you know, clicking on whatever, Temu or whatever it is on the internet at night. I'm guilty. I've done it too. So I'm not, you know, blaming or not shaming anyone. But I think we've gotten so used to that we've really forgot how it is and what it's supposed to be like to compete, negotiate, you know, fair and squarely.
And not only that, but build our own. I mean,
Exactly.
like you mentioned, I fell into the trap of buying these goods from China. One, they are cheaper, which is a good thing, but they're not good quality at all.
No,
They're
you
not
gotta
good
buy a bunch of
quality.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but many of the materials and things that they use are unsafe. So, and again, also you are helping to produce child welfare issues. You know,
Right.
they're
They
using
work kids that
Right,
child-
yeah.
child labor.
right, yeah. So it all comes together, and I'm really interested to see how the next year goes about with this.
Have you guys seen those billboards? The billboards, they're black with white letters. It's the electronic billboards.
Like the
that say-
digital ones with the
the digital ones. It says tariffs are a tax, and it
Oh.
has different types of tariffs,
Mhm.
and where it will hit you in the pocket. So, you know, I see one on my way into work every day, and I said, man, I'm going to pay attention to it to see who, because I thought it was the DNC. I was like, I know they ain't got that kind of money to be throwing up, you know, billboards. It's Canada.
Wow.
Real small in the
And that-
corner, you see the maple leaf and it says Canada. So Canada has started this campaign, this propaganda to try to convince Americans that leveling the playing field with them is a bad thing for us.
Wow, that's
Whatever.
slick. That's a slick thing.
I thought so too, KJ. I
Yeah.
was like, you know, that's underhanded.
You know,
That's
I'm sorry. I know we're gonna move on. I'm gonna say my my little cliche. All or nothing thinking usually gets you 100% of nothing and all. Did I say it correctly? I'm drinking this wine. I gotta think about it. I'm saying it right.
I don't know.
0% of all and 100% of nothing. All or nothing thinking usually gets you 0% of all and 100% of nothing. That's what I've said. And so it has to
Let's
be
have
again
more
fair
wine.
and square.
That's
Let's
it.
drink some more wine.
There
Just
you
to,
go.
Yeah.
y'all know I might
Yeah.
get worse as we go along.
Right.
It's going to be an interesting show, y'all.
Right,
Y'all
exactly.
know I'm a lightweight.
And not only that, but mark today's date. Today is April 2nd, 2025. So we want to revisit this. We want to come back a year from now and revisit this episode and see how things have progressed over the year.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to take a year because
Okay.
these countries are folding like cheap paper.
Right.
Girl, nobody wants to be on the wrong side of Donald Trump in the White House at this point.
Right.
Nobody. Maybe district judges, but other than district judges, nobody else wants that stuff.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And as I mentioned, it was Vietnam and Israel have already removed all of their tariffs. And so hopefully we'll see more countries fall in line. All right. So I want to talk about, and folks, if you haven't done so already, please hit that like button, share this broadcast with a friend, and subscribe. It really helps to amplify our voice here on YouTube. And also your super chats. It helps to keep us pushing out this conservative content. So we certainly appreciate that as well. All right here. So want to move on to, again, kind of talking about President Trump and his personality, and just, you know, we know this just from being on the right, that he is, you know, basically a good guy. But we don't hear it enough in the media.
Right.
And so this next clip is of him and Kid Rock. So Kid Rock, again, as we talked about it last week, negotiated or got Bill Maher to come to the White House and talk to President Trump. And this again shows just how much of a nice guy President Trump is. This is clip 6. Take a look.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this on the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong. I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
Oh, here's a fun story. So I was in the Oval Office with that outfit on, and so I brought a change of clothes for dinner. That thing was very hot. So I was changing clothes, but Dana told me, he goes, Bobby missed it. When Bill Maher walked into the Oval Office, he said he looked pretty nervous, this, that, and the other. And, the president said something to him real nice, and Bill's like, I need a drink. And the president's like, get him a drink. What do you want? He said, I want a margarita. And the president had his people grab a margarita, and I grabbed a beer, and, man, we had a great time.
People who dress like their style.
Yeah.
I love people who dress
Okay. So that was Kid Rock just talking about how Bill Maher was just so surprised, so enamored for being at the White House. We have another clip here. This is clip 7.
Everyone was so surprised, so pleasant. The most shocking thing to me was, Bill's obviously a very big liberal, been very hard on the president, but he's donated a lot of money to other politicians. You've had Biden, Clinton, Obama, everybody. He had never been to the White House, and the president was so gracious. He took us up to the private residence. We saw the Gettysburg Address in the Lincoln bedroom, and I was like, you've never been here, Bill? And I was like, how about this? President Trump, extending this olive branch, and we talked about things we had in common. Ending wokeness, securing the border. The president was asking him what he thought about policy, going on with Iran and Israel and things. It just it blew my mind. It was, right. I was, very, very proud.
Bob, he's got
All right. Yeah. So I thought that was cool, especially in a time right now where we are so divided. Mm-hmm. Everyone with politics, the left is against the right is against the left. For them to come together and break bread, I thought was pretty cool. What do you think?
I want to hear what Bill Maher is going to say.
It's Friday. They're saying Friday.
Right.
So
I want to hear what Bill Maher has to say.
We'll report.
But yeah, it was cool. Kid Rock, I love his little flair or style, like we were talking about. I think Bill Maher is going to be, as Kid Rock said, he's going to be pleasantly surprised. But I just also think this: Bill Maher is. I would say he's a gentleman.
Yes.
He's going to be classy. I think he's going to love most is the open, honest, transparency conversation with President Trump.
Yes.
Because I think that's what Bill Maher is going to really be, I don't know, surprised about. I'm just looking forward to that. Look, President Trump, again, is a man of the people. Many people have said they were surprised to hear that he's done X, all these nice things, whatever. First of all, this man is not walking evil, okay? Number one. Is he flawed? Absolutely. Aren't we all, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. So that does not mean he's evil. There's a big difference. And all of you Puritans out there, get that straight. There's a difference between being flawed and evil, okay? And President Trump is not the latter.
Yeah.
I think Bill Maher was probably blown away by the grandeur of the White House. So, you see the White House on TV. You may have even been on that little free White House tour where they give you little snacks or cookies or Hershey's Kisses or something when you come in the door. But to go to the west side, to the west wing of the White House is very different. Everything in the White House is made in America. Every single, with the exception of the Resolute desk. The Resolute desk, was a gift.
It was gift. It was one.
Yeah, it was a ship, right? So it was a part of the ship. I think it was from the UK. But everything else, the ashtrays, although there is no smoking, or aluminum from Pennsylvania, even the toilet paper, everything is from America. And everybody who works there is honored to work there. Yes. So the atmosphere is so very different than walking into any other office building. So I know that was kind of weighing heavy on him, and it is super special. Once the Secret Service, waves you in, you do feel kind of like, oh my gosh, and then to walk into the Oval, which is quite literally oval, the walls are curved, right? To stand there in front of that desk, in front of the most powerful man in the world, has got to be awe-inspiring. So Bill Maher probably had a fangirl moment for a little bit. We're going to see on Friday though.
Kid Rock played the piano there. I thought that was just so sweet that he was playing the piano, and he looked, it wasn't, I'm going to say solemn. I'm saying solemn in a sense of serious. It wasn't that degree, but he looked so honored to be able to just play in the piano in the White House. And he was so into it. It was just a beautiful moment to see.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was. And so we'll be back this weekend. And so Bill Maher is supposed to air on Friday night. So we will see what he says. He's supposed to talk about it on his show on Friday.
You know what time?
It's usually pretty late. I'm not sure.
So he's pretty late.
Yeah, but we will definitely keep you guys up to date on that. So again, hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and subscribe. Also, folks, we have our merch store. You can get our merch at www.popandpoliticslive.com. Nicole is wearing one of the cutest sweatshirts.
Finally.
Yes.
Finally.
Yeah.
Came in.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, it is so warm. It is so very warm. And they run kind of big. So get like a size smaller.
Because I just like the extra room I just like that. Let's go to the range.
Especially, yeah. But like I put it on in my car. Right? I put it on. And I was like, man, this is a big shirt.
Yeah. It's funny just to note. Now, KJ and I have on short sleeve. You have on a hoodie, right? But just in case you all are not in Maryland, the weather here has been so crazy, right? Yeah. Yesterday was Monday or Tuesday, whatever day it was. It was like 80 degrees. You were literally sweating, right? You were sweating. Then today you need on a hoodie.
And some boots.
Exactly.
We needed the boots on today because we had some terrible rainstorms, and everything, like at least where I live, is like slushy mud, kind of goopy stuff. So it was a good day for me to wear my pop.
Yeah, so, and it's beautiful. It's pretty too. It's very pretty, and the inside is soft. So even if some people like to wear oversized stuff, it's nice and comfy. So you can put it on your big hoodie and some nice comfortable pants, and then just have a nice relaxing day, but you still look not cute for the ladies.
Just don't go outside with pajamas on with it on.
Oh no.
Do not wear this
in a bonnet.
With a bonnet with what do they call it? Crocs. The shoes. Come on, y'all. Represent.
Well, some people like to wear Crocs, so to each his own. But
that means KJ likes them.
Yeah, that's
I don't like them, but to each his own. But so let's move on here to the takeaways from last night. So, of course, there were elections in Florida and Wisconsin last night that delivered a mixed bag. So we got Republicans were handed 2 congressional victories in Florida, while flipping the Wisconsin Supreme Court seat to the left. So it was Florida's 6th district was won by Senator Randy Fine, and Florida's 1st district was won by state CFO Jimmy Protonis. Of course, also we got another victory in Wisconsin. The voter ID amendment voters approved a constitutional amendment enshrining the state's photo ID requirement for voting with approximately 60.3% support. The loss in Wisconsin, which was kind of the big one, liberal judge Susan Crawford defeated conservative Brad Schemmel, preserving the court's 4-3 liberal activity. So before we get into the outcomes of that Supreme Court, I want to go back to Florida's 6th district, Senator Randy Fine. So there's been kind of controversy on the right about him. Not sure if you ladies have seen, but Candace Owens came out yesterday. She tweeted and said basically people shouldn't vote for him. Apparently he had some type of controversy. No, because he was a supporter. He was not a supporter of Hamas. So he had posted some photo with a child that was deceased in the rubble and saying that he was against Hamas. And then today, Governor DeSantis came out and said that he was a tough sell for Floridians. Also, apparently he's not the normal Republican voter. Do you know anything about him, Nicole?
He's a conservative. He's pretty red-pilled. He is definitely, without question, pro-Israel. Right. So for those of us who are red-pilled, that doesn't seem like a problem. But for people who have problems with Israel, he's a problem.
Oh, okay.
And I'm not calling out anybody. Hutchu, Kansas. Hutchu. But people who have that issue with Israel are going to find a problem with him. Listen, politicians are not born in a bubble. You know what I mean? We all have lives. We all have histories. We have skeletons in our closet. The only difference between the average politician and a regular American, where you want to kind of hide your skeletons. Most politicians let their skeletons out and do a line dance every 4 years to get reelected. But with that said, a new person like him, you're going to have a magnifier on you. And at this point, it's useless saying anything about him.
I was going to say
because he's already elected.
Well, this was before he won. This was before the election yesterday. But my question is, we had a slim majority in Congress, so we needed these seats.
We did.
What's going on with her, Candace, or anyone really?
Look,
to say
first of all, she said because he's not, what you're saying, he's not for Hamas. I'm not for Hamas either, if that's the criteria. I am anti-Hamas. Okay. Now, I don't know when that became the criteria to be pro-Hamas or not, but Hamas is a terrorist organization. Why would anybody in their right mind, if you will, be for Hamas? To do what? To keep destroying, killing, destruction, things like that? No, I'm not for that either. Number one. Number two, I forget his name. I cannot pronounce his name, and the wine is getting to me, you all. But this man, like I said, he's flawed, whatever the case may be. So the DeSantis said he's a hard sell for Floridians. Well, he won, right?
Yeah, well, he was saying that generally that area would have won by a huge margin. He didn't win by the margin that.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair enough. If it was a fair election, then he won fair and square, just like the Wisconsin. Yes, I guess it's I don't know, disappointing that the Supreme Court in Wisconsin is going to remain liberal, remain liberal. So there was no gain there. It was just basically a transfer of seats, if you will.
Well, and can I jump in? I want to, so we can just be accurate. Her exact quote, Candace Owens, about the Florida congressperson is, "This is who President Trump just endorsed for office. This is absolutely appalling and revealing as to who is in charge of the White House. Any person who can look at a picture of a murdered baby and mock it is a monster. Do not vote for this genocidal pig," is what she said. And so he posted a photo.
I was going to say, he must have posted some kind of photo
of the rubble. So,
Okay. Again, look, murder. I'm just going to say it. Candace has been, I'm going to say, problematic Okay, she is entitled to her opinion. She's
Absolutely.
entitled to speak them, whether or not I or anyone else agrees with them, like her, or don't like her. That's not the point. The point is that to me, in my never to be humble opinion, this is her framework, if you will, by which she's measuring politicians. But Candace doesn't live in Florida. The Floridians voted for whom they want to represent them as best as they can. Are we going to always win? Absolutely not. Outside is not going to always win. Are there some candidates worse than others? Yes, I can name 2, Kamala Harris and Biden. Okay,
Look,
but
I got like 10.
Right, at least right. But the thing is that this is still America. We had a fair election, and Candace's, again, her increasingly narrow framework by which she's measuring people, politicians, or whomever, to me, it's a little problematic. And most of the things she talks about, I would agree with her in a larger sense. This issue since October 7, 2023, since October 7, 2023, seems to be very, I'm going to use the word problematic for, at least for me and millions of other people with Candace Owens. Do I think she should be run off of a censor? Nope. Absolutely not.
Let her have
Absolutely
her voice,
not. But I do think she's very, very narrow focused. And I think, again, it's just not going well, at least in that sense, for me and Candace Owens.
Well, she does have strong issues against Elon Musk.
Yes.
And so speaking of that, Elon Musk played a very large role in the Wisconsin race. So, of course, we say liberal judge Susan Crawford defeated conservative Brad Schemmel, preserving the court's 4-3 liberal majority. With over $100 million spent on this race, it was the most expensive judicial race in history. Elon Musk on the right and Democrats George Soros, Reid Hoffman, and J.D. Pritzker on the left. So Elon Musk was, heavily out there campaigning, trying to, let them know that, with this, if she were to win, there may be an issue with the congressional map, right? Redistricting that could lessen the amount of congressmen Republicans have in the House. So what are your thoughts on that whole thing, Nicole?
Listen, a lot of conservative voices worked really hard in that election. I participated in that election. And was it neck and neck? Yes. For the most part, she had a lead, right? The problem that Candace is having is, from my humble opinion, let me steal Shelley's line. Elon is new on the set. And being new on the set, you should probably pay some dues first. He's not paying any dues. He rocketed to the top. Guess who else did that?
Kim Klacik.
Right. And did she have a problem with her?
I thought of that. Yes, she did. When you said that, I was like, exactly.
So, there's this, I say this to conservative women all the time, there's enough space for everybody. You don't have to knock somebody off their square so you can stand on it. There are plenty of squares. We all have an opportunity to do our part. We sent text messages, we did phone calls, we did what we needed to do. And the people of Wisconsin chose who they chose. Exactly. Will there be repercussions? Without question. They're going to gerrymander that map just like Maryland is gerrymandered, right? But that gives us an opportunity to fight the gerrymandered map, to give us a chance to take it to court if we have to. So all is not lost. No one should be, voting Elon off the island because of one election. The America PAC has helped plenty of people around the nation, and Elon should be applauded for taking time from his busy DOGE schedule, his busy saving astronauts who've been lost in space, his busy,
which was successful.
Paraplegics.
Yeah. And then you're looking at Tesla. I mean, this man's plate is full. For him to take even an hour or two to even involve himself in Wisconsin says a lot about his character.
Yeah. Well, I thought Charlie Kirk had a great take on this whole thing. He says, and I quote, "We did a lot in Wisconsin, but we fell short. We must realize and appreciate that we are the low propensity party now. The party has been remade. Special elections and off-cycle elections will continue to be a problem without a change of strategy.
Yep.
We are the party of welders, waiters, and plumbers. We are the party of people who work with their hands, who shower before and after work. Politics is an afterthought for many of our supporters. They have common sense and American values, but they are voters who must be chased. Democrats have become the college-educated or college-indoctrinated, institutionalized, and government-dependent high-propensity party. They live for politics. It is their religion. Mm-hmm. You may hate Donald Trump, but he resurrected a dead GOP back to life. Voters who weren't on anyone's data rolls came out of the woodwork to vote for Donald Trump. Our movement must begin to fully fund the infrastructure to match the Democrat machine. Our ideas are better. They're actually popular, but we need to match like for like. We need to out-organize the Democrats. We need to match their fundraising advantage. Let Wisconsin be a wake-up call. Let it be a call to return to the front lines. We won in November, but to save the Republican, we must string together multiple victories, and that starts in 2026.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. You know who else says very positive things like that? Scott Pressler. You know, Scott is 24/7 conservative politics, 24/7 flipping voters, changing the roles, igniting voters' energy to vote. But historically, these little tiny, you know, special elections, the only people who generally vote are people like us, politicos. Right. You know, we go out, we're like, I hate this woman, that kind of thing. And most people are like, well, I wonder why they're standing over there by that building. They don't even know it's an election day. So they're both very right. We have got to get our people to understand that voting in these elections is not just for the president, right? Not just for governor. There may be smaller elections, and turning them out is going to be a little bit harder for us because we work.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
We want to actually live the American dream. Absolutely. Not just spend our time or in DC or our state capitals, you know, fighting against. We want to actually live it out. So that's why I understand that. But you're right. We do have to keep digging and keep fighting and keep reaching.
It's a commitment that we have to make. And you know, if you're looking for a catalyst for that particular commitment, it is this. If we do not start turning, I hate to say it, like what's his name, the crazy white guy that ran for vice president?
Tim Walz.
Tim Walz's wife. Turn the page. You know, we have to turn the page so that we understand that it's not a one-off. He needs help. He needs help from the school board all the way up to the U.S. Senate. He needs help. So we're going to have to get people, you know, kind of energized to go out and vote in these smaller elections.
Yeah, and folks, it can start also by sharing this broadcast. So every time you hit the like button, or every person that hits the like button helps to amplify our voice here on YouTube. And believe it or not, broadcasts like ours have changed minds. It helps to educate people, and it helps to let them know that there are people out here who think like who think like them, or who have a nuanced opinion on the issues. So thank you guys so much. Please continue to share and like this broadcast. And again, share it in a DM. And again, your super chats go a long way in helping us continue to pursue and push out conservative content. All right. So we are moving right along to this Atlantic piece. So again, one of the major issues that got President Trump into office was illegal immigration. And the left continues to lie and push fake propaganda. So this is one. The Atlantic just released a hit piece slamming the Trump administration for deporting Kilmer Armando Abrego Garcia, who is a Maryland, he lived here in Maryland. They described him as a Maryland dad, a man with known gang ties back to El Salvador. The article paints him as a victim, but what about protecting American citizens? Take a look at this next clip. Jesse Waters describes it, clip 1.
Atlantic, the same outlet that accidentally broke Signalgate, came up with a real doozy. The Trump administration mistakenly deported a Maryland dad to a mega prison in El Salvador.
What they're actually doing is sweeping up people based upon their appearance. I think Americans, you're going to see, this is not what they signed up for. They don't want their friends and neighbors who are here legally swept up and then said, oops, we're sorry, he's down at a deadly prison in El Salvador.
Are you friends with anybody in MS-13? Are your neighbors MS-13? I hope not, because if my neighbors were MS-13 and they got deported, I'd say, thanks, homie. My family can walk the dog without being beheaded. The White House says this wasn't a mistake.
This individual was an MS-13 ringleader. This individual was also engaged in human trafficking. And I'm glad you brought up this point again, because I would like to point out that if you just saw the headline from the insane, failing Atlantic magazine this morning, you would think this individual was Father of the Year, living in Maryland, living a peaceful life, when that couldn't be further from the truth.
Did the Democrats call an MS-13 ringleader a Maryland dad? I think they did. Mr. Kilmore Garcia snuck into this country under Barack Obama and was arrested in 2019 in a sweep of high-ranking members of MS-13. What was a Maryland dad doing hanging out with MS-13? Oh, I know, because he's a verified member of MS-13. That's what the Department of Homeland Security designated him as.
Wow, these people are sick. So, Shelley, why does the left-leaning media always seem to leave out the national security side of these stories?
Because they hate America. Number one, first, foremost, all around the town, they hate America. However, I do want to say there are reports, and I'm going to talk about the Hill that's a little bit more, I would say credible, is a little more neutral, I guess, supposedly. They did report that the Trump administration is admitting an error in deporting this man, right? However, I still have some questions, because one of the things I've read in every report that I saw or that I've read is that it said his wife noticed him on some footage. So I thought, wait a minute, wouldn't you notice if your husband was taken and deported? Why do you have to? So where was he all this time that you only noticed him on this footage in this El Salvadoran jail? That already gives me some pause to, my skepticism goes up. Something's wrong with this. He came here illegally. He was given, if you will, asylum. I'm going to call it asylum, loosely using that word. But what has he been doing since then? I haven't heard any reports, good or bad, so to speak, right? Except the gang affiliations. Haven't heard anything else that he was doing. Was he working? Was he trying to become an actual citizen? No. And again, the fact that his wife recognized him. You didn't know that your husband was deported? I mean, because I'm just saying, in normal circumstances, if you and your husband are living together, having life together, I would notice if he's coming in the middle of the night, somebody came and deported him.
So, what happened? It was an administrative error. Now, he went before a judge and they said that he was supposed to be deported.
Yep.
I think this was back in 2020. But the judge at that time, they said he was supposed to be deported, but then he went back and said, it's not safe for me to go to El Salvador. So then the judge said, okay, you need to be deported, but we won't deport you to El Salvador. I guess they were going to send him somewhere else. So the error was he was deported back to El Salvador. But even with that, despite they said that it wasn't safe at that time. But remember, that was in 2019, based on the fear that the 18th Street gang would persecute him if he returned to El Salvador. Well, thankfully, Nayib Bukele has crushed the 18th Street gang. It is now safe for him to return. The gang has been removed.
But wait a minute. But what was he going to be deported for anyway? What was the initial reason for him to be deported?
Let me see.
Gang affiliation.
Right. Yeah, that was. He crossed.
Exactly.
He was MS-13. They had already confirmed
exactly
that he was a member of MS-13. And again, that only came up because he asked for bond. The immigration judge reviewed the evidence and found it showed he was a verified member of MS-13. This was back in 2012, I believe. And therefore, Abrego Garcia did not demonstrate that his release from custody would not pose a danger to others. So the immigration judge at that time found that he was a flight risk, noting his history of failing to appear for proceedings pertaining to his traffic violations.
Okay, so he was trafficking, like they said. Right. He was already an MS-13 gang member. Where is the mistake? The only mistake was where he was sent, which was
right. That's the only mistake.
It.
Yeah, that's the only
mistake. Truly, that's not even a mistake, right? Because this is his home nation. El Salvador is his home nation. There's a town in Maryland called Tacoma Park. I have an office there. It has the largest settlement of people from El Salvador outside of El Salvador. MS-13 runs that town. They absolutely run that town. So for them to say, well, we think he's an MS-13 member, it's pretty easy to tell, you know, MS-13. Most of them are tatted up with a gigantic ass MS and a 13, right? I mean, it don't take Mr. Wizard, you know, you don't need a crystal ball to try to figure it out. But to say that he's a Maryland dad, right? This is liberal media using language to kind of pull on heartstrings. But as you continue to read the story, he was working as quote unquote a sheet metal or some kind of apprentice. He was in an apprentice program. But like you said, Shelley, why would his wife recognize him getting his head shaved, going to El Salvador's Supermax and be like, is that my husband?
Right. So where has he been all this time?
And you know, apprenticeship programs, you need to show up every day. There's none of this, I'm going to take 6 months off and you know, come back. So there are big holes in the story. But again, this is a part of the Democrats' push to make deporting these criminals out of our nation, these killers, these rapists, these child rapists out of our country, something that America should feel sorry for. They had another couple that left the country. I think they went back to the Philippines and they ended up getting refused entry again and then back deported. And they were like, oh, why are you deporting them? And blah, blah, blah.
This is the test for me, at least one. I have yet, probably never will, I have not heard one leftist media personality, whomever, even talk about the rightness, if you will, of deporting the gang members. They only focus on the ones they say are mistakes and all these rights that they have, but I've never heard any of them say, you know what, the majority of them, they don't belong here. They're here illegally. They're gang members, whatever the case may be. They won't even give that quote unquote fair and balanced presentation of the facts. They only focus on something or one piece that is going to, like you said, pull on the heartstrings. And that's not even the whole story.
No, it's not. I want to acknowledge our super chatter tonight. Rico.
Hey, Rico.
With the $2 super chat says, hello, ladies. Hey, Puddin'. Great show. Thank you. This is our first super chat of the night. Yes. Wendy says it's getting old. I'm sick of the left's denial.
Absolutely.
Yeah. This is, I mean, deportation is not cruelty. It's the law. It's the law. And guess what? Let's say President Trump didn't deport somebody, one of these gang members that was here illegally. They were a gang member and they, assaulted or, God forbid, unalived someone. Then they would be all over. Oh, President Trump didn't deport this person, and he should have been deported. He was here, and he slipped through the Trump border, and now he's out here assaulting people.
Right. Well, we got a test of that, KJ. I mean, you're right. I agree with you, but when it happened, they didn't do that. Two people, Lake and Raleigh and Rachel Moran, the one who was right here in Maryland.
Well, it was under Biden, though.
It was under Biden.
Right.
They didn't even, that's what I'm saying. They didn't even show condolences, if you will, let alone
stand up for the families.
Right. They stood up for basically the criminals, the gang members, the illegals. They didn't even, call for the deportation of those two pieces of shit.
Right.
Well,
right.
Very kind.
Yes, she is. A sovereign nation has every right to support our laws and our borders. We have every right to do that. And it's very troubling to me to see the media, the left stream media, which I call it, go against that. They're fighting against it, and then they continue to push out lies about that.
Exactly. The truth of the matter is Barack Obama deported 3 million people, not one peep. But when you look at nations that do immigration really well, take a look at Poland. Poland don't play with you. You hop that border, you're going to catch 2 bullets in the chest. They don't have it to do. They will kill you where you stand because they need to, like, as they say, protect their culture. Right. They have to protect their culture. If you want to come to Poland, you need to get a visa and do everything right. It seems to me that the richest, most powerful nation on the planet should be able to at least say those things and mean it.
Yeah.
Do you notice that, I don't know, I haven't seen any stats lately. Do you notice that there are virtually no people that try to get into North Korea illegally? Do you notice that?
Mhm.
I mean, nobody even wants to go there, let alone illegal. You notice that? It's always our country. And there are other countries in Europe where, yeah, of course, you can visit. You may be able to get a visa, but your ass ain't staying there long. When that visa expires, you got to go. And these are modern, industrialized countries in Europe. You got to go. And it takes you years if they allow it for you to even become a citizen.
Well, one thing, I say it all the time, people take advantage of the fact that the United States is based in a Christian moral country. And so they take advantage of that because they know that, we have a moral compass and we won't shoot them where they stand if they do these types of things. We have a democracy. We have a constitution that's based on Judeo-Christian values, and they try to take advantage of it, just like the guy on the Columbia University who was trying to use our laws. He was clearly Khalil Hamil, whatever his name. He was clearly working right. He was clearly on the bandwagon of Hamas, and now he's trying to use our laws against us to stay here and not be deported back to the place that he claims and supports.
You know what? When you talk about the media, it's interesting because most of the media, at least the mainstream media, is leftist, right? So interestingly enough, many people that come here now, particularly the illegals who come here, they really think, like you said, they want to take advantage. And I wonder if it has anything to do with the propaganda that our media puts out around the world. And they really believe that that is the mainstream perspective of many in our country, and it's not. And so I think they come here with the idea, oh, their media, is against their president. Their media supports us. Some kind of way they get that message because our media is so biased.
Enemy of the state.
Exactly.
Enemy of the state.
The perfect example of that is Vladimir Zelensky with his meeting with Trump.
Point.
He thought he could play him out in front of the press, and Trump was like, wait a minute. Well, I'm sorry, let me spin around. I'm still the president. Stop talking to me sideways. I think the media does that purposely. I think it is part of their grift.
Yeah. We do have a super chat, sir. Thank you so much. Ezra Tree with the $5 super chat says, hello, ladies of Poppin' Politics. Black, beautiful, intelligent, and conservative. Love your show, ladies. Keep up the excellent work. Thank you.
I'm not going to ask our producers.
Oh my God.
I know, right?
Shelly's starting to slur. It's on now, y'all. It's going
wow. Producers, if they can find this clip, I know it's an old clip. Remember when Trump was overseas? I think this was on his first tenure when he kind of told that other whomever statesman, that is so funny. I mean, it's cool, but it demonstrates again, we are Americans. Trump is our leader again. Thank you, and we will not take the back seat to all of your BS. We basically fund your countries and your lifestyle. We're going to be in the front.
And who are you rooting for? Are you rooting for you? Are you American? So you should be rooting for America. I don't understand why people do the opposite. I'm not.
But I think because they know we're going to come in and save the day, right? So when you think about people, if you think about very liberal people as people who have pie in the sky, kind of dreamers, no feet on the ground. When you think about conservative people, you think about people who build things, who work hard. And when the pie in the sky goes, left, somebody's got to come in and save the day. We're not going to let our nation fall. We're not.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, watch out for Trump. Look at his nose in the air. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. You pushed him out the way.
He's like, excuse me.
Excuse me, whatever. And then
excuse me.
That's our president. That's our president.
That's what he should have done. I'm not standing in the back. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Nakia Washington. Let me tell you, we love you too, girl. Thank you. Thank you for shouting us out and watching. We appreciate you.
All right. So, folks, the left can write all the hit pieces they want, but the facts are the facts. You break the law, there are consequences. And under Trump, America matters again. Like, subscribe, and let us know. Do you think the Atlantic is gaslighting Americans on immigration? Sound off in the chat, so we can hear from you. All right. So we're going to keep this going. Okay. Oh, we have
Who's that?
No, I'm still looking at Nakia. She sent us some
thank
love
you.
you faces.
Yeah.
Y'all, let me tell you, this episode,
this Trump wine,
let me tell you, is hitting. It's about to get. Shelly doesn't drink,
and I had half a glass, and they had extra.
Girl, this is my first class.
Oh,
That's KJ who's
KJ
drinking the
had
bottle.
extra.
Yeah, but I'm one that can actually hold my liquor.
That tells you something. I'm a lightweight when it comes to liquor.
I'm a lady, and a lady can hold a liquor.
She can chug a lug, take it to
First
the
of
head.
all, I'm just saying, let's not bring up our past.
All right.
Let's not bring up our past, ladies.
All right. So we speaking of ladies, we want to talk about Abby Phillips. Abby Phillips on CNN.
Is her name Phillip or Phillip?
Phillip. I'm sorry,
No,
Phillip.
I'm just
It's
kidding.
actually Phillip. It's Phillip. She got called out for lying on Elon Musk and DOGE. So doing his So take a look at this next clip here, where she got into it with Scott Jennings, and then she got called out for lying on. Let me first play this clip about Scott Jennings. So something's going on with her lately. So you guys know, before we play the clip, you guys know that Scott Jennings, the Republican, the lone Republican that is on CNN permanently, has been all over the news. I mean, all you do is see clips of him just slamming, destroying Abby Phillips and the leftists on the panels most nights. He has become very popular, and looks like Abby doesn't like it. Take a look here. This is clip 2.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this on the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers. There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
Governor, you got a second?
Literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
This is why independent media is so important. Thanks to people like you, patriots who love America and stand for truth, we're making a difference. Together, we've turned them off, called them out for their lies and propaganda, and held them accountable for their disdain for God-fearing, freedom-loving Americans like us. But we can't stop here. It's time to take action with our dollars. Let's make 2025 the year we double down on our commitment to values-driven choices. Vote with your dollars. Support Made in America. Back companies that honor our families, faith, and country. We found an exciting way to make this switch, and we want you to join us. Check out www.popandswitch.com and click Yes, I Want to Make the Switch. It's that easy. It's time to walk away from corporations like BlackRock and Vanguard that undermine our principles. Let's invest in America. Let's support businesses that share our love for this country. You don't have to take on everything at once, but you can start here. Join us in making this one small yet powerful step. Visit www.popandswitch.com. Click the link and schedule a call with our team to learn how you can make the switch. Together, we can create real change.
What's up, guys? This is Giovanni, co-founder of Metro Conservative Media. We are the definitive home for the urban conservative. You think you got what it takes? Go to metroconservativemedia.com and click Join the Movement now.
Isn't this exactly what we denounce other countries for doing? Not giving our own citizens, when they get wrongfully detained around the world, our own citizens the due process that they deserve?
Well, I think multiple things could be true. Number one, I delineate between American citizens and everyone else. If you're a U.S. citizen, I put you in a different category.
On due process, that's not a distinction that the law makes.
Then if you've come here and broken our laws and committed violent acts or murdered and raped and whatever, I put you in a different category.
When it comes to the law and due process, that is not a distinction.
Well, if you'd like to argue that Trinidad should have the same rights and that you get as an American citizen, go ahead.
I don't change the Constitution. Hold on a second. The argument is
you're saying that a terrorist can walk across the border and become effectively a U.S. citizen?
That's not what I'm saying. Hold on. Scott, look at me. Okay. You and I are talking. You and I are talking. Okay. What I'm saying to you is that the law does not make a distinction between U.S. citizens and everybody else when it comes to being accused of crimes. Are you saying that that should not be in place? That if you happen to not be a citizen, you get to be thrown into a jail with no process at all?
I'm saying that these people are effectively terrorists. They walked across our borders illegally.
Okay,
they are violent, and I don't really want them
but
here.
But doesn't the government have to prove that they are who they say they are?
Correct.
That's
all we're saying.
That's all.
I think.
I mean, you can say it
eventually.
It's not a concession that you like Tren de Aragua. It's just a question of the basics of civics in this country.
I think eventually the government will have to show all of its cards on everybody that they have detained, deported, or done anything to in this arena. But there is no doubt that the Trump administration is rounding up effectively terrorists who came across here illegally, committed horrific acts, and do not need to be in this country.
They are doing that, perhaps, but they're also doing a lot of other things, too. And that's why the courts are asking questions about it.
Wow. So did you guys hear her when she said, look at me?
No,
what was that?
Look at me.
Yeah. First of all, she overtalked him. He couldn't finish his thoughts. He couldn't finish his sentence. Mm-hmm. And then she says, look at me. Did she say I'm the host?
No, I think she just said, look at me, like,
look at me, Scott. Look at me.
How dare her?
Oh, okay.
It's a panel.
Before we answer, we have to we have to shout out. Is it Bit Billy? Thank you so much, Bit Billy.
For sure. Thank you.
For coming onto our channel. We love you too. We hope you come back. Look, just thank you. Anything?
Yes.
Well, let's shout out Peter first name.
So he says, Bit Billy, I don't know who these women are. I just stumbled on this video, but I love them already.
That's very sweet.
Yes, it is. We love you right back. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right, look.
Peter first name says, at Bit Billy, good for you. It only gets better the more shows you watch.
That is so sweet. Thank you,
Peter. What's the second name? Look, y'all gonna be surprised, but I didn't really have a problem with her response. I really didn't. I thought it was, whatever, neutral. It wasn't even anything.
Well, let me give you the backstory of this. First of all, so as I mentioned before the clip played, Scott Jennings is getting huge ratings for CNN. Mm-hmm. And the way that they measure the ratings, you can actually pinpoint the exact time when somebody is actually doing well and when people drop off. So what is apparently happening is during the show, when he lays in to these liberals or leftists, ratings are high. And then when he's off or if he's not on a panel, the ratings go down. And so that's really bad if it's her show. And so a lot of people are, insinuating or thinking she's starting to get nervous that, she's not bringing in the ratings. The panelists aren't bringing in the ratings. It's Scott Jennings. And Scott Jennings doesn't have his own show yet. So that was I thought it was very catty.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. I mean, people can say sometimes we act catty on here. Sometimes we go. I mean, we have. Let's just be honest. We have before.
Yeah,
so
but
I don't have a problem.
Nobody's
with that.
telling me, look at me.
No, I mean, they didn't say that. No, like that.
That's what she said.
But I mean, again, that was meaningless to me. That was very minor. His point was, but we were talking about earlier about deporting these illegals and how the left does not want to even acknowledge that they're illegal. Now, she was talking about the due process clause and the 5th and the 14th Amendment in the Constitution and our amendments, right? The due process clause, it does not specifically say only U.S. citizens, which is what her point, right? However, our Constitution is written for American citizens. Yes. It's not written for the Diegos and whatever the name is you said earlier. It's not. So there in the whole context, if you will, the spirit of the law, that is who our Constitution is written for, number one. Number two, they have been, or they are criminals. They are here illegally. These leftists love anybody and anything that's going to destroy America and American lives. That's just it. That's just it. So in that sense, Abby, that was a bigger point to me than her just saying, look at me. That was just whatever. Like you said, that was just being catty. Mm-hmm. That was meaningless to me.
She was going for a hot take.
Right.
Everybody's trying to pull off a little, razzle dazzle. But the truth of the matter is Scott isn't popular because he does hot takes. Right. He's popular because he goes into the mouth, the belly of the beast.
Right.
And he sits there and he takes these slings and arrows and he doesn't raise his voice and he doesn't lose his composure. He looks dead in the camera and just tells you what it is. Exactly. And then her heads explode all over the place. So I get she doesn't want to get Joy Reid. You know, she doesn't want to get voted off the island. I get that. But there's a way that you do that. If she met Scott point for point, policy-wise, it would be a different conversation. But she doesn't have that substance, and he's eating her lunch every day.
And maybe she's getting some pointers that she needs to maybe step it up. I don't know. Maybe that's what she's
who knows what her
like step it up, like step up her.
Well, that's like Nicole said. Well, if you want to step up, step up with
Substantive.
substance, right? Substance, not with look at me. When there's a whole panel here and he's talking to the panel, she overtalked him the entire time. He couldn't even get out his response because she was over talking him. It's unprofessional, and I don't like it. I don't like it.
I understand what you're saying, but they all do that on that panel. I mean, they over talk.
But you didn't
mostly
say look at me.
No, right, not to look at me. I'm talking about, but they mostly will cut in, interject, mostly towards Scott because he's a lone conservative there. So they do that to Scott and maybe any other conservative that's there. So that's kind of like the heat, the feel of heat on the contention. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Well, I just think, like I said, she asked him a question.
Give him a chance to answer.
Right, let him answer it. Soon as he started to answer, she starts over talking him.
Well, it is CNN, right? So they're not going to let Republicans, even if they're center right, like he is, they're not going to let him have many words. He's probably got a word cap that he's not allowed to go above. But CNN has long been soap opera like. So, that it is what it is with CNN.
Yep. Well, we have a super chat here. Kung Fu CJ. Yes, thank you. Says, hello, ladies and my pop and politics family. Thank you so much, folks. For you guys who are new here, we are starting a community, a family here with Kung Fu CJ, with who else do we have here?
Big Billy,
right?
Laura, Trey Chocolate,
right, Trey Chocolate,
Rico,
Tijuana
border jumper. Yeah, we're starting a family here, so you guys are family, and we certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on when we come on here on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and even on our other channels here on the Metro Conservative Media platform. Me tomorrow night I have at KJ Christian Conservative. Then on Saturdays we have Just the Guys broadcast on their channel, and then we also have All American Talk Show on Tuesdays, and it's just really nice. It's almost like when you see your family come out to support you on each show. It really helps. It really makes you feel good. So just wanted to shout you guys out.
And I want to give a special invitation to Big Billy. I know you just joined the family, but we have always been telling our audience, our chatters whom we love, go to our website, popandpoliticslive.com, and buy some merch like this nice hoodie that Nicole is wearing tonight. And we have other things on there. I'm sure you will love all of them, but go ahead and help us and support us that way too.
Listen, support us easier. Hit the subscribe button, right? So you don't miss an episode.
Absolutely. And speaking of Abby Phillips, we're not done with her yet. So she just got her lunch eaten. Is it eaten? Again.
Let me tell you something. They are not sponsored for this show, but Eric and Laura, thank you very much. I'm just going to say this is really
the Trump rosé, the Trump rosé wine.
Maybe we should take.
Trump doesn't do anything halfway. He does everything full throttle.
Maybe we should take a family trip over to the Charlottesville to the
I would love that.
It is a beautiful place. It's absolutely gorgeous.
Red Bucks with the $5 super chat. Thank you. Yes, indeed. All right. So I want to bring you guys this next clip with Abby Phillips. Again, getting her lunch eaten. This is clip 3.
He came to the state. He talked about cutting Medicaid, Social Security through DOGE. Bringing those issues up.
Actually, he never talked. He explicitly said in Green Bay that he would not cut Social Security.
Well,
that's exactly what he said.
Talked at his rallies.
No, other people said about that, but I was there. I watched him. Okay. He did not say he was going to cut Medicaid.
Other people at his rallies who work for DOGE, who work for Elon Musk's organization, talked about those issues.
No, I was at the rally. Not a one of them said that. That's what protesters said, but nobody there actually said that.
Do you think that there are risks here?
There are. If people believe the lies that people are saying about that. But that's not at all what they said. If people believe that Medicaid and Medicare is going to be touched, that's just a flat outright lie. What he talked about are people who are over 120 years old, who clearly are not alive.
Well, the reason I brought it up is
Social Security or Medicaid.
Okay, well,
that's
let's
totally wrong. I think
just to sort this out. The reason I brought this up is because the claim here is that there's massive, widespread fraud, and that's all they're addressing. That's obviously a disputed claim because it's not true that 120-year-old people are getting Social Security checks. The checks stop at a certain point automatically because those checks and balances
but those Social Security
are
numbers get counted for various parts of the federal government. So they don't get a benefit directly to those people, but they count for money that gets allocated to different departments in their budget. And they shouldn't be. If somebody's no longer alive, they shouldn't be able to count that.
I guess my fundamental question was, what are the risks here of Elon dabbling in elections for Republicans going forward?
Well, again, I think in the end, he's going to have to continue to make the case. Part of the reason why when we talked about our recall, what flipped things for us early on in that recall process, Time magazine called me Dead Man Walker. And the reason was because all the narratives coming out from the press, coming out from the left, were about all these horrible, egregious things. Once we started to give examples of things we were actually doing, not the things the press said, not the things that our opponents said, but the things that we were actually doing, when we ended up going before the voters in the final election in the recall, we actually won by more votes than we did. So I think that what's paramount for him or anyone else aligned with him is keep giving actual examples of what they're doing. Set aside things like Social Security and make it abundantly clear that that's not being touched. But if there's waste, fraud, or abuse, spell it out, make the case, and bring it to the voters.
Governor Walker, great to have you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Still ahead, more reaction to the results in the Wisconsin Supreme Court race. The liberal candidate's victory, Judge Crawford. Why Elon Musk's multi-million-dollar pitch for her opponent, Brad Schimmel, did not succeed. We also expect to hear from the winner, Judge Crawford, coming up.
Wow. So she just got corrected, fact checked. Thank you, Scott Walker, because we've been saying this for weeks. President Trump, Elon Musk, and DOGE have not said they would cut Social Security or Medicare. They are trying to flush out the fraud and waste only, which in turn will eventually actually help Social Security recipients.
They actually, you're right. They actually said that they were not going to do that. Yes. I don't know how many times you can go on the whitehouse.gov website and look at the post there talking about the cuts or the finding of the fraud, waste, and abuse. Mm-hmm. These people are upset in a frenzy, and they're using Elon Musk. Of course, he's the front guy, so he becomes a target because they just don't know what to do with him. He's upplaying them, if you will, pulling out their rugs from under them, finding the fraud, the waste and abuse, and then saying, you know what, we found this. Why are you not for this? Why are you not supporting this? Mm-hmm. Because the more fraud, waste, and abuse, the less money will be going to the rightful people and the people who actually paid into the system who's supposed to get it. Why? The only reason is that, well, two, Trump and Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yes.
Yeah, Nicole, what are your thoughts on that?
I think it was high time that somebody injected something substantive into that conversation. Mm-hmm. And I liked the way he did it. He allowed her to spew her nonsense and was like, okay, but the truth is, he said this over and over again. No, he said it plainly. He did not mince his words. And she had to walk it back. She had to continually walk her commentary back. Unfortunately, it's CNN, and they walk back a lot of things. Like twice a week, they're issuing retractions. It's getting to a point that calling them news is a stretch.
Oh, very. It's so. It's like a old, stretched out, used condom. I mean, this thing is stretched and nasty and dirty, and that is what CNN is to me. I just cannot believe the lies that these people continue to push. And what's unfortunate is so many people believe it. You have people, particularly elderly people, who are sitting at home because they believe that CNN is your trusted news source, and they continue to watch it and they believe these lies. And she blatantly is lying, and he corrected her and she tried to push back. It is so infuriating. It is so infuriating. Before I get you in here, I want to acknowledge our super chatter who rightly calls them the Communist News Network.
Exactly.
Esri Tree with the $5 super chat says, I can't stand CNN. I understand their liberal bias, but they take it to the extreme. Exactly.
And they still think that they represent, quote unquote, the middle. They don't, but this is how they see themselves. Another thing, they are so, I guess, a part of the Democratic National Committee, the Democratic side, that there is no room for the natural and expected antagonism between the media and government.
Exactly.
No, they're covering for everything, and primarily they're covering opposite. Anything that Trump or Elon Musk, certainly Trump, does or says, they will say the opposite just because he said it. They're not necessarily even fighting against policy. It's all about the person and just the politics and the propaganda of it. Oops, I had some alliteration there.
There you go.
But they just don't have the credibility that they think they do. But you're right, KJ, because when I'm out during the course of a day, and I may be in different places, and what's on the big screen? CNN or MSNBC sometimes, but mostly it's CNN. And I hear some of my clients say, they don't even want to mention Trump's name. They don't even want his name to come out. And I'm just thinking like, oh my gosh. First of all, I hope you don't ask me anything because this is a professional setting. Right? And if they ask me something, I'm either going to have to put some tape over my mouth. I am.
Or walk out the room.
Or
I'll be back.
But I just pray that they don't ask me anything. But you're right, KJ. It's on everywhere. Going to the airport.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. I have to say this. Peter's first name is cooking in these comments. He's absolutely right. They cause mental illness and they should be sued. Yeah. They really should. When they libel people, slander people on this show, people should sue them. Yeah. They really should.
Well, Elon has he is suing one. Is it CNN? He's suing somebody currently. I think it is CNN.
Is it CNN? I thought it was
suing somebody for defamation.
Right, for defamation. But it's just, that's also so difficult to prove.
Well, she looked in the camera and said he's a liar and a thief and all this other stuff.
Oh, right. Oh, it was Jamal Bowman.
Yeah, it was Jamal Bowman
on CNN. It was CNN. Yeah.
CNN back when, when they first started, they were always kind of liberal leaning. You know what I mean? The best thing about CNN back in the day was the voice of James Earl Jones saying, "This is CNN." The modern CNN is really just, it's like an entertainment network.
Right. It certainly is. It certainly is. And that's why I totally agree with Megyn Kelly. She came out this week. She did an interview with the New York Times. Yeah, it was very good.
It was really good.
And she basically said the New York Times interviewer was questioning whether she can call herself a journalist because she has, basically come out as a supporter of Trump. And she says, absolutely. She's like, it's actually a good thing that my audience enjoys. It's the media like CNN, like the New York Times, like NPR, who was brought up at Congress this week. They continue to say they have no bias, and it's clear that they are.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. That was an excellent interview if you haven't seen it. But KJ, we got to mention a couple more people because our producer yelled downstairs. We forgot to mention Krista and Angie.
Oh, right. Allie.
Exactly. So, all these people who have been with us for such a long time, we thank you. We thank you. We can't say it enough. We thank you, and we just love your support.
Lightbearer 32.
Yeah, Lightbearer 32. Krista, you said Krista. Right.
Did you say Wendy?
Right, Wendy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so folks, again,
your first name.
Yeah, you're right.
He's killing them in the comments.
Yeah,
he's in here. He's just showing off in these comments.
Absolutely.
Talk your stuff, Peter. Talk your stuff.
Thank you so much. All right, so again, as we mentioned before, the left can write these hit pieces, but in the media can kind of push out their fake news. But folks, we're here. We talk about our bias, but we still pursue the truth, no matter where it leads. Hit that like button, share this broadcast, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. We appreciate the support, and it certainly helps to amplify our voice here on YouTube. All right, we're going to change gears a little bit here and talk about this viral story about this father. And the question is, was he doing his best or was he reckless parenting? So a 24-year-old dad left his two young kids at a McDonald's while he went to a job interview. And the internet is divided. Some say he was doing what he had to do. Others call it neglect. So the Daily Wire, according to the Daily Wire, Chris Lewis, 24, was arrested after leaving the children ages 1, 6, and 10 at the restaurant after walking them there from his apartment in Augusta, Georgia, just before 4:30 p.m. on March 22nd. A witness saw Lewis leave the children, then return to check on them before leaving again. Law enforcement was dispatched to the location after receiving a call from a concerned customer. They were waiting for Lewis when he returned to the McDonald's again at 6:20. The father told police he didn't want the children to walk back home alone while he had the job interview. Officers waited at the restaurant until the mother arrived and picked up the children. Lewis was arrested and charged with deprivation of a minor. So, Shelley, what are your thoughts on this story?
So you asked, was he recklessly parenting or was he doing the best he can do?
Yeah, what's your gut reaction when you first heard this?
My gut reaction was both. It was a little bit of both. However, I don't think he should be arrested. I can see them maybe citing or fining him. I think the arrest for me, it doesn't do any good. He's going for obviously he needs a job. He's going for a job interview. The children were, quote unquote, I'm going to say relatively safe, okay, in that they were not being abused. They were in McDonald's. Yes, there was not an adult there. But interestingly enough, in many states, an 8-year-old or 10-year-old can watch their younger siblings, typically in the home where they, in the home where they may be. Right. To me,
I think it's 1 though, isn't it? It's not 2.
No, I'm not sure. No, I'm talking about the age, like the.
No, I mean, but I think it's like a 10-year-old
can
watch
one
younger sibling.
But to me, ultimately, this goes to, I'm going to say, the case of too many laws, or maybe laws that are kind of overlapping. Maybe there's some gray area, things like that. But I certainly don't think of arresting him. Now, one question that to me on the reckless side was that why didn't he call the mother? Because obviously the cops called her. I don't know where she may have been, maybe coming from work, but why didn't he just call the mother? Just like she came to get the kids. So again, I think it was a little bit of both.
Yeah. Well, Nicole, the story has inspired a lot of conversation online with users arguing both sides of the situation. Antonio Brown, former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, started a GoFundMe for it. He's saying that the man is a hero, not a villain. He is trying to get a job to support his kids, and he correctly assumes that a 10-year-old can watch their siblings at McDonald's for a few minutes while he interviews for a job across the street. All charges should be dropped immediately. But we have some other people on the other side saying, an ex-user said, McDonald's in Augusta is not a safe place for little kids unsupervised. Maybe it was 30 or 40 years ago, but definitely not today. I don't think he should have been arrested, though. I think a warning would have sufficed. What say you?
I agree. So, kudos to him for lining up the interview, trying to make it work. And you're right, Shelley, we don't know the circumstances between him and the mother, why maybe he did call her and she was too far out or on her way to come get them. But to arrest him, I think was overreach. This is where discretion and discernment should be in our judiciary. Instead of reinterpreting law in the spirit of the law, I think taking a look at this father who's trying to do the right thing by these children would have gone a lot longer way in helping this family get on its feet. Georgia has a thing with parents, because isn't this where they arrested the mother whose son walked to the store?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, they're tough on parents in Georgia. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's very different. You see a lot of kids left unattended in McDonald's. Like the McDonald's where I live, granted, it's the country. I'll give you guys that. But you look in a little play situation with all the balls and stuff, there's all kind of kids in there, and there might be 1 or 2 adults sitting there having lunch. Well, they didn't bring them. All of Chick-fil-A the same way. Spooky Strokes, a little golf place. You see little kids all over the place. So I think we really do need to take a look at, when it comes to family law, are we helping the situation or are we harming the situation?
Exactly.
Now, let's say another thing here. So let's say, he went on the job interview, the kids were there. And while there, one child was molested.
Okay, first of all,
I think that's kind of what these types of laws are for. It's like you want to make sure these. Where does the line draw in between, child safety, and also not being overzealous with.
To your point, they could have been left at home and something could have happened.
That same thing. He would have been arrested the same way.
If they were home, I'm just saying. So the molestation, I know, as horrible as that would be, and I get it. You're trying to make the point, but the point of it is that this is why I have said people have gotten upset with me. I am not an advocate of throw everybody in jail because they broke the law. No, I'm not. Sometimes our laws go too far.
So you don't believe that there should be any type of law where children should be. Parents should be held accountable for because this happened literally. I think it was in Florida, where a mother went out. She went to a club, went out party, left the children at home, and the baby that was left there, or the younger toddler, was strangled. Somehow, because
I think there are places for that. I mean, there's a time, and that was an actual strangulation, right? There's time for that. That still doesn't mean that our laws don't go too far sometimes. Every case does not warrant somebody being thrown in jail. Not only that, this father came back to check on those children, right? I get it. People's, your innate senses like, oh my gosh, the kids were left at home, were left unattended. Well, okay, he did his best. You can see that he was trying to do the right thing. Right. It wasn't that he was going out there dealing and wheeling. He wasn't pimping the children out.
He didn't even go to a club.
Right. He left them in a relatively safe place. Somebody wrote in the comments, I think the mother was on the way or something like that. Something like that. But nevertheless, everything does not warrant, every crime, if you will, or breaking of the law, quote unquote, does not warrant someone being thrown in jail. That just doesn't give you, like you said, discernment. It does not give people the time to say, you know what, sometimes the law overlaps. Again, I say a little bit of both. Right. Was it reckless to a degree? Yes, but he was also trying to do the right thing. So when you're caught between a rock and a hard place sometimes, he's trying to feed his kids, whatever, get a job so that he doesn't have to be out there wheeling and dealing, trying to have some dignity in doing so. Now, in a sense, he's being penalized for that. So which is better? Have him in jail. The kids have no father. He still can't feed his children. Maybe the mom is there, but in some other circumstances, the kids would have been taken to foster care, whatever. Is that worse? It's like the penalty is worse than the actual cause.
Absolutely.
Or how you say it.
But here's the point. These judges, the people who arrested him, why are they not locking up illegal migrants this way?
Right. Exactly.
Maybe they are. Like maybe they are. This is in Georgia.
Georgia needs to do a class for these other police officers around the country so that they know how to handle situations like this. Because if you lock up a dad who went on a job interview, who left his kids unattended at a McDonald's, right? Then you'll lock up anybody.
Yeah, we have a super chatter here, Wave Network. Thank you so much. Thank you for your super chat. Yeah, well, you guys sound off. Do you think that it was the right thing for him to be arrested, or should the police have, given him some grace?
Sure. Oh, we have some comments.
Yeah. Sound off on the chat.
Oh.
Yes, indeed.
What was that for me? So, Shelly, do you believe that the person in the McDonald's would have called the police if the rules were reversed and it was a woman? You mean a woman who left the children?
The children unattended. That's a good question.
They probably still would have called the police. I think.
Yeah,
I think they probably still would have called the police.
I think at some point, if the restaurant would have called the police, it would have been another patron would have been like,
and I don't
a 1-year-old.
I don't fault the person for calling the police.
Not at all.
I don't fault that person either. I think this was just an unfortunate set of circumstances.
It
was, and I just really wish that this officer used a little discernment to say, hey, look, you can't be doing this. Maybe, hopefully when it gets adjudicated, he'll get a little community service, that kind of thing. And the family gets the support it needs to continue to prosper, because locking him up long term means that this mom is going to have to find somebody so she can work.
And if he has a felony charge, no less, then he's never going to find a job. You know what I mean? So it again, the cure. That's what I want to say. The cure can't be worse than the actual disease.
Right? Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, again,
that's right, Wave.
Yeah, Wave Network says so a child is old enough to decide their sex, but not old enough to babysit siblings.
That part.
Well, folks, was this dad a victim of circumstance or just making poor choices? Sound off in the chat. Drop your thoughts, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. All right, last of the night is reparations. So, Kung Fu CJ, we were just talking about you. Says Georgia is trying to take parents' kids. I live here and they are ruthless. Wow. Thank you so much for your $5 super chat. Yes, he does live in Georgia, so he would know. Yeah. All right. So next we're moving on to reparations. So there is a bill here in Maryland proposing the establishment of a commission to study reparations, including financial restitution, is expected to clear its final hurdle in the House of Delegates with only days remaining in the 2025 legislative session. Senate Minority Whip Justin Reedy of Carroll County, Carroll and Frederick counties, told Spotlight on Maryland he is confused as to why this bill is being advanced, and the state faces a historic $3.3 billion deficit, which is forecasted to balloon to $6.7 billion by fiscal year 2028. So what is going on here, Nicole? Now Maryland, we've been talking about this, folks. You know, we've got a huge deficit, as we just said. Now initially the governor was talking about bringing over federal workers who were laid off from the federal government, and now he wants to push reparations. Where is the money?
We don't have the money. I mean, Maryland is broke as a joke. Let's just call it what it is. We were reckless. Well, I shouldn't say we.
Right.
They were reckless.
Governor Moore.
Right. They were reckless in their spending, and the result has been catastrophic. You know, not just the money that we've spent, but last Friday, the U.S. Department of Education notified Maryland's Department of Education that they were going to claw back all those COVID funds. It's like $360 million. So it's going to put our boards of education in a hole. Bigger than the hole we're already in because of the blueprint, bigger than the hole because we spent like, drunken sailors on a holiday, all of this. And he's thinking about his political career and reparations. California had the reparations bill. They passed the bill. And according to that bill, $1.2 million for everybody, except for they don't have the money.
Well, what I want to know, and I want to get you in this show, what I want to know, according to the Census Bureau, by 2045, whites will be a minority in America. Yeah. And the minority will be disproportionately older and less active in society. So Black people will end up paying the reparations, no?
Theoretically, yes. That's number one.
Yes.
But where we're going to get the money from for this? This is what I think. This new budget bill, this travesty of a budget bill that we're passing here, that's being passed. I didn't say we. That's being passed in Maryland. Thankfully to Governor Moore and these delegates and senators in Maryland. I think much of that money, because it's going to go to the general fund, much of that money is not going to the specific causes that they say, like the
never does.
Right. So it's going to go to the general fund, which they're going to raid again for this travesty of a reparations bill. And notice how they just putting this in here at the end of the session, right? They're going to raid it. They're going to next year, the taxes are going to go up again, more fees that they have to keep feeding this beast. Marylanders, I said it before, I will say it again. We have to get these jokers out of office. And Governor Moore is the biggest joker. He even smiles and looks like a joker when he does. But this is a travesty of a bill. We are being taxed down to 99% of our every dollar, basically, is going to be feeding a beast in Maryland, or some kind of taxes, whether it's state, local, or federal. That's where they're going to get the money from. Why now? Not only that, they know that Trump is not going to be funding DEI and all these critical race sounding programs or whatever. Where's the money going to come from? It's going to come from Marylanders. Marylanders, we are going to be up the creek without a paddle if we don't put a stop to these people.
We'll be in Virginia. That's where we'll be.
Yeah.
We'll all be in Virginia.
And talk about the COVID funding.
Well, this COVID funding should have been spent a long time ago. I'm
glad they're taking it back. I'm so glad they're taking it back.
Well, the federal government, so President Trump has just issued, it's not just Maryland, there's several states where he is He's taking back
Yes.
the COVID funds. Is that right?
Well, he should.
It's supposed to go back because number one is not
because they didn't use it.
I am glad because I don't think number one is all the funds should not have gone out. Take it back because again, every time you hear the word grant, unless it says private grant, other than that, it's taxpayers' money at every level. Take it back and distribute it to the people. Give it back to the people. Put it under the fraud, waste, and abuse category. It's our money. Take it back, President Trump. Leave Maryland and Governor Moore and all those delegates and senators, leave them ass out in Maryland. I'm sick of it. Take it back. I don't want them to have the COVID money. I don't want them to have any other damn money with the word grant behind it or in front of it because it's my money.
Well, I think back to the reparations bill, and I agree with you 100%, Shelley, but back to the reparations bill, this is not a bill that says that we're going to have reparations. This is a bill that says that they're going to make a commission to study it. Right. And usually these studies like a year or 2 years. The problem is I think it's going to cost like maybe $60,000.
That's what I was wondering.
You know, it's going to, of course, I mean, people, and it's usually their buddies. So this is like a political payoff, right? They're buddies who do a study, and it's
like DEI.
Yes,
the same thing.
It's a gravy train. But when California did their study, I think it was like 11,000 pages that they produced. This big old book full of bullshit, and then they eventually said, yes, what we'd like to do is $1.2 million for every qualified applicant. But California doesn't have that money, so it's never been brought to the floor to be voted on and say, yes, we're going to issue checks. It's never done that. But what it did do is it raised Newsom's stock among a certain subset of very liberal people. And it's no mystery why Governor Moore is so very interested. Now, if he was smart, politically savvy, if he were politically savvy, he would let it die on his desk. Because he's already got people who, heard about it, and he's got the little street cred with the Tesla killers and very liberal people. But what he's missing is the center. Marylanders are pretty much centrist. Pretty much centrist. So tell me, I've been working all of my adult life, 30 years I've been working. And now I got to kick in on reparations.
And half of it is going to be eaten up in taxes. So you're not even going to get that when
it's just Maryland paying Maryland. And here's this. There are so many ways that if he wants to do something that doesn't involve money, there are so many ways, tax breaks, whatever. But my point being, we have to push forward. We cannot continue to live in the past. I shouldn't say we're the only culture because there's a couple cultures who still do this, but we have to let bygones heal themselves so we can push forward. I'm not saying to forget slavery. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is none of you are slaves. You go to work, you may feel slave-like. It may feel pretty bad, but you have not suffered that indignity. Yes, maybe great-great-grandma, that kind of thing. It's worth a healthy and robust debate. Absolutely. But we have to live in 2025.
How about giving every American, I'm going to say even half, 3/4 of what they've already paid into Social Security? Cut me a check for that. Repair me that way. How about that? How about getting, like you said earlier, KJ, getting rid of the income tax, right? Repair me, repair me that way.
Let's just dismantle the IRS. Let's just take the IRS apart. That would be like the Department of Education. Let's send Linda McMahon over there when she's finished with DOE.
Yeah. We have a super chat here. Josh Winston
Josh.
says, I wish I met you ladies when I lived in Oxon Hill.
We wish you had to, Josh. Yes.
I'll tell you guys something, and I've said it here before.
Not the heathen.
Oh, we have as a tree with the $5 super chat says, West, the heathen war has destroyed Maryland. I've lived in Maryland for nearly 60 years, and he's the worst Maryland governor I can remember.
Yeah. Make no mistake.
I'll tell you guys something. I've said it on here before. I don't know what it is, but when people start talking about reparations, it pisses me off to my core. I am so sick of reparations, people talking about reparations, because the people who are going to be paying it are hardworking people like us. The government does not create anything. They do not have any means of raising revenue other than taxing the citizens. Exactly. We will be paying for our own reparations, okay? As I mentioned, who, if you're saying it's for the people, the white people, or who has ancestors that were slave owners or whatever, they are gone. We are becoming a colored country overall. We are going to be paying our own reparations. It is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well,
exactly.
It is a grift. Are we going to make the black people who owned slaves pay reparations? And then what happens 50 years from now for the people who were forced to pay the reparations?
It's never ending. It's never ending.
What happens when their kids say, well, you took my mom's money?
It's another Ponzi scheme.
Honestly, I think if you want some type of reparations, the best reparations you could get is for the federal government to give you a slave. Give you a slave of somebody who is not working, who is able-bodied, and who is not working.
KJ, this is a hot
Everybody gives you a slave. You get a slave. If you're a black person, you get to use that as a person as a slave, and they're not working, and that's your reparation.
Girl, remember, I just had an image. Remember on the Flintstones when they had the vacuum cleaner, they had the animal with the elephants. Yeah. So get a person like that and put them on a thing and let them go picking up trash or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's a grift. It's another Ponzi scheme. It just sounds good because you hear many black leftists talking about it. So they can't really say anything about that because, black people just can't be racist. And we certainly can't be racist amongst ourselves. But oops, yeah, we can, because they call us coons and Aunt Tom. So they can do that to us. This is a grift. It's a Ponzi scheme or pyramid scheme, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to work. The best reparation, I'm going to back up KJ and say it again. Give me back my Social Security that I paid into it. Stop the IRS and income tax, and cut every other tax that we pay for and that we don't get a return on investment for. That's what I want. Oh, and by the way, let's find out who are the insider traders down on Capitol Hill and any others legislature in all the states across America. Let's do that. Let's clean out some of those things and repair, quote unquote, repair things that way.
Listen, I just say, let's all just be, reasonably decent Americans. Right. Abolish the IRS.
Yep.
Charity works when you have money to give, right? Yeah. And working person to person, community within your community, I think is far better than waiting for a huge NGO or something to swoop in and do things in your community. I think there's a lot of room for America to take a look at this moment and say, okay, we got to press forward, y'all. Right. We have to press forward. This country can be so amazing at times. It takes your breath away. When Americans work together, we do wonderful things, not only for us, but for the entire world. Why do we insist upon breaking ourselves into these little pockets all the time? It doesn't work. It does not work.
We're being manipulated.
It is.
That's what it is.
It is.
We're being manipulated by the left, who sees that their power is dwindling. And so President Trump is in office and he's been cleaning out all of these NGOs, all of these companies and these bureaucrats that have been skimming off the top of these grants, as Shelley
Stacey
said.
Abrams and
so they see that this is falling apart and they need a new grift. Right. And so I just ask, we ask, don't let them manipulate us. Mm-hmm. Go onto our website.
That's what they can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we have shirts that say, not black, not white. We're all Americans. Absolutely. And don't let them divide us.
Exactly.
That is the quickest way to the end of America. The division that the left, communists, Marxists, globalists are trying to push on our country.
Yep.
So that does it for us tonight, folks. We will be back this weekend. So please hit that notification bell. That way you know when we go live. Kung Fu CJ says, don't give me nothing. Just get out of the way.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I can do my thing.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thank you so much, Kung Fu CJ, with the $5 super chat.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Josh.
Yes, indeed. So again, we will see you guys this weekend on Friday. We have special guests. Shelley, who do we have?
Oh, absolutely. You must tune in 9 p.m., right?
Yep.
We are having Sheldon Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
He's the attorney in Texas. I know many of you are familiar with his name. He's the attorney in Texas who is running against, I'm sick of talking about her, Jasmine Crockett, but talk about her we must. We will on Friday, but before Friday, like KJ said, go to our website and spend your hearts out until it's content. Poppinpoliticslive.com and pick up some merchandise like this
For
hoodie.
sure. Look,
nice.
Not the Trump wine though. Don't pick up the Trump
Oh,
wine.
the Trump wine. Look, what do we say about the Trump wine? This Trump wine is no joke.
Yep, we got another super chat.
That's right.
Wendy, thank you
The
so
left
much.
hates-
Says the left hates patriots.
Yeah, they do.
exactly.
They do.
Yep,
They
and this
think
is
there's
why we
something
need
wrong
you
with
guys to hit that like button because we are patriots here at Pop and Politics. They don't want us to succeed. They don't want our channel to grow. So hit that like button and subscribe.
Thank you,
Subscribe,
Peter.
subscribe,
Thank you.
subscribe. And if you belong to a group, like I belong to the Maryland Federation of Republican Women. Now they have like a bunch of different clubs. My club is a virtual club because I'm busy, as you can tell. We busy, right? So we spend 1 hour a month, and it's a bunch of like top-notch women. We have the former First Lady of Maryland, the drug czar from Trump's first administration, the super spy. It's a real cool group. But all of those women are subscribers to this channel.
Good.
They may not watch every episode, but they're subscribers to this channel. So if you belong to a group like mine, go ahead, share it with your group and say, listen, ladies, I need you to subscribe because these women are on the front line, the tip of the spear for women in politics, women who are talking about culture. This is your moment. Get all of your club members to subscribe. And if you don't belong to a club, hit me in the chat and I'll send you a link so you can join my club.
Yes, absolutely, folks. It's good to surround yourself with like-minded people who share your values. And this is what we are all about here. All right, so that does it for us tonight. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.